Hey everyone, we are jumping on to day one of the challenge. I'm gonna hang tight for a couple minutes. We're a little bit early on purpose so that you guys can find the live, and we'll get started probably like a minute after, 2 minutes after we said we would, just so that everyone is finding the page, finding the live. Help your fellow watchers and viewers and colleagues out if they're like, I can't find it. That always happens, and sometimes you just have to refresh the page. So we'll just awkwardly hang out and stare at each other for a minute while we wait for everybody to jump on. And if you can see me, if you can hear me, if I'm coming in loud and clear, can you please let me know in the comments with a yes, yes. And I'm going to, oh, what did I do? Oh, sweet, that's how you see the comments. Fantastic, everybody. So if you can let me know in the comments that you can see me and hear me. I just want to make sure that these comments work. If not, I'll go on my phone for it. But I'm also going to check and make sure that you guys can see me and you can hear me. Facebook's trying to give me tips right now. No, thank you. In the words of my 2-year-old. No, thank you. Okay, I can see and hear myself. We've got captions. Fantastic. Okay, awesome. Yes and yes. You guys can see and hear me. Sweet. Okay, we still have just a minute or two. I want to hang tight. Lots of people are jumping on. I don't want to jump into content until we've got everybody who's going to join us live. We still have like thousands of people who haven't even gotten into the group yet. They signed up and maybe they clicked off too fast. They didn't realize they got to join the Facebook group. So we're definitely going to be recording this. And I even got dressed up for you guys. I literally shoved a dress into a tank top thing. This is me getting dressed up. I'm pretty excited about it. Okay, yes. Well, thank you. I don't get dressed up much, but when I do, I don't always know exactly how to do it, but I try. All right, just a couple more minutes. Again, we'll just awkwardly sit here together. I don't want to get started just yet, but I did get myself into state. I'll just rattle off for a minute. Normally how I get myself into state being in a high vibration, ready to rock and roll, to serve typically is what it's needed, or to give guidance to myself or to others, is 3 deep breaths. It used to take me a lot longer. I had a lot of rules around it, but now it's just 3 really, really deep and aggressive breaths. So I did that right before I came on. I said a little prayer that any information that you guys need, any energy that you need, that if I can be the vessel for it, that would be freaking amazing. Okay, cool. More and more people are jumping on. It is 11:01 my time. We have, okay. And where are you guys tuning in from? So I see Nova Scotia. Oh, Sandy. Hi, darling. Let me know where you guys are all coming in from. I like that. Even though I can't really see myself, then I can see the comments this way. So this is much better. Okie dokie artichoke. Maryland, UK. Thank you, everyone. You guys are making me feel so good. Telling me I look nice today. Georgia, Jersey, Alberta, Grenada. Where is that? UK, Vancouver, Newfoundland. Oh, so many happened just once, all at once. I gotta scroll up. California, South Carolina, Los Angeles, France, Vancouver again, Seattle, San Diego, Wisconsin, New Zealand. Oh, hi, honey. Egypt, Texas. Hi, Tasha, darling. Hi, Ann. Oh, man, you guys are commenting fast. Manila. My husband's, yeah, Oliver's like, yeah. Warsaw, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, California, Pennsylvania, California, Scotland, Sweden. I'm missing some I know. Canada. I like naming all these. This is fun. More Scotland, Texas, Sydney, Australia. Oh my gosh. Iceland. Sausalito. Okay, where is that? Oh my gosh, they're coming in so quick. I can't see them all. Cambridge, Colombia. Okay, so Nigeria. Literally from all over the world, y'all. And this is what's so cool. I don't know if you guys believe this. Tell me if you believe this. But I kind of feel like, well, parts of this I know scientifically, but I'll go a little bit more on a woo-woo end, that we're all connected, right? And so whenever we're all connecting throughout the world, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, because I just imagine, you know how when you travel, people do that little yarn to the pinpoint thing, and they, you know, show all the places they've traveled. I just imagine all of us, and we're all these little pinpoints on this huge map, and energetically, this energetic cord, we're all attached. It's like the yarn, just giving each other divine information and hopefully some incredibly high vibrations today. We're beach boys in it today. Manchester, France, Idaho, Romania, Denmark, Washington State. I was born in Spokane. Okay, so I think that we have been rocking and rolling for a minute here. Yep, it's 11:03. So, official welcome to day one on our, my husband, oh my gosh, stop. Let's do that again for the taping. Day one of our challenge, our 3-day challenge on raising our vibration. We'll probably, I never know exactly how long we're gonna go, but we'll probably go for maybe like an hour today, maybe less, I don't know again. But there's a lot of information. Guys, I'm starting to take notes just so I'm like, okay, let's do this succinctly. But I've got quite a few things that I wanna roll through with you all. And so I would say almost 100% chance that you're gonna wanna come back to this live again. So make sure that you save it. I will of course post it here. It will be recorded. It's gonna be freaking awesome information today. We're diving into the mind. Day one is all about your mind, the psychology of manifestation. And I was just talking about this yesterday with Marcy Shimoff. Who knows Marcy, by the way? She's like the godmother of manifestation. Coolest conversation. I can't wait to share it with you all. But sitting there thinking about how deeply important the mind work is to manifestation, because I think sometimes we get confused and we think that manifestation is this magical process. It happens to some. We have to wish our way to it. If we do enough mantras, it will work. Like, what are all of the things that, whether you have mastered manifestation or not yet, what are the perceptions and rules you have? If you can post it up, please, because this will really help me too with the future days of training, because I always tend to do some intuitive pieces. What are your rules around what you think manifestation is, or what you thought manifestation was when it wasn't working for you? For myself, I thought that manifestation, now The Secret, I love it. Marcy's in it, right? I love The Secret. It cracked me open and showed me what was possible. But I didn't have the steps to get to the vibration that The Secret introduced to me, right? I was like, okay, I know that this is possible. How in the heck? And I probably unconsciously set out on a lifelong path to figure it out. And here I am in front of you guys today, giving the missing links, basically, to manifestation. And so anyway, I had all these rules that maybe it was gonna happen for me, maybe not. I didn't know. Okay, so focus and go slow. I had to leave and come back, could not stay focused. Focused on manifesting physical things. Thank you for saying that. We'll talk about that in a minute. That you have to be high vibe for it to work. If you stay positive all the time, it will happen. If you put it out there, it will happen. Okay, awesome. So we all kind of have these similar thoughts. Now, some of them may not be completely untrue. Like, if I'm in a high vibration, I know that I will manifest things that are awesome. But the missing piece to manifestation that I'm kind of known for is that we are manifesting all the time. And unfortunately, we are counter manifesting more often than we are consciously manifesting what we want. So I sat there and I thought about that. And I was like, so if we're manifesting all the time, and whoa, my hair's getting crazy. If we're manifesting all the time, but we're normally not getting what we want, then we're looking in the wrong direction, right? We're running towards what we desire, but we're not paying attention to what is holding us back. So what is that? And that is the magic of manifestation. Because I believe, this was actually given to me before I started teaching manifestation, this divine piece of information that seemed so random when I received it. But I was like so hot to trot on getting people to their authentic selves. That was actually that's what I wanted to teach the world, was how to be authentic. Doesn't sound very sexy, right? But what I realized happened as authenticity was found was master manifestors would be created. So I was like, oh my gosh, okay. So when we start mastering ourselves, when we find our most authentic versions of us, manifestation just naturally happens. The things we want are already there. We're already on the vibration in which all we desire exists. It's just like, boop, boop, going grocery shopping. You're just picking a bunch of cool stuff off the shelf, and it's that easy. Truly is. We always have to be in a space of growth and all that. We'll talk about that. But that was what I was striving for myself. And then when I reached it, I was like, oh my gosh, I had it all wrong. No wonder. And the piece that was so incredible was the mind, was me digging into and understanding how integral our thoughts, our beliefs, and the way our brains are wired. So the neuroscience on a very, simplistic level, but how our brains are wired affects our vibration so freaking much, so freaking much, that it will alter our abilities to manifest what we want. So, you guys, many of you have heard my philosophy, but I want to run it down so that everything makes sense as to why I'm talking about it, because there is quite a few pieces we're going to go over today. I don't want to be like, it's so simple, just say I'm great. No, that's not the case. We're going in there, we're doing the work today, especially with the mind. It's so much fun. Now, before we begin, before I even talk about my philosophy, this is really a part of my philosophy. Are you guys, okay, you guys are good. Just want to make sure. Someone said video keeps getting interrupted. Everyone's good otherwise? Okay, cool. What was I saying? Philosophy. So when I look at my philosophy and I look at how the mind works, those pieces are so, I'm just going to repeat myself for a minute until I get back into my train of thought. Those pieces are so integral to manifestation. And so if we are most often sending energy in such a way that it is not bringing us what we want, right? So we are, in fact, energetic beings. Wow, crazy, right? So if we can believe that we are energetic beings, everything has a vibration. This is not woo-woo. This is, this is science, right? I'm giving off a vibration right now. So is the computer. So are each of you. So is my phone, obviously technology. So is an apple. Everything has some type of a frequency. They have what's called a frequency signature. I learned about this when I was working on psychosomatic illnesses, where we were feeding people frequency signatures. You could literally feed someone the frequency signature of an orange and their body would start preparing to receive vitamin C. That's how incredible energy really is. Energy's on the third day technically, but I know everything crosses over when I talk. But the mind and the frequency of our thoughts over time, especially the ones that are pretty ruminating, they've been in our minds for a really long time, they're happening in the subconscious, they continue to send outwardly. Our vibration goes out into the universe, if you will, and the universe sends it back to us. So when people go, well, how could I have manifested that? I've been sitting here trying to do the right thing. There is something in your subconscious that needs to be uncovered. And that's what I was going to say. A part of my philosophy is, regardless of what you uncover with all of the things I'm going to give you today, you are not allowed to judge yourself. There is no room for judgment. There is no room for shame. And there's really no reason to be frustrated by what you may find as we jump into this together and we discover what might be sitting in your subconscious, what may be playing in the subconscious reel, which is like this movie that's always playing, what energy we might be sending outwardly. Those are not things to feel badly about, but those are things that we have to step into and understand. So I call it, teach you guys some methods right now. Every time I put my hand in my hair, it goes crazy. So this is why I don't wear dresses, because I'm like, whoa. So anyways, I like to throw in a couple jokes because we'll laugh, then let's go deeper. We'll laugh, we'll go deeper. And so, okay, good. Everyone's doing good. Yes, there will be a replay later. So, any hoodle doodle. So if we look at, let's talk about that actually for a second. So if we look at kind of that roller coaster experience, right? And the reasons that actually happens, it all happens in our mind, but our vibration will raise and then it will lower and it will raise and then it will lower. But we feel victim to it, right? And then we further judge ourselves for it. So regardless of everything that we uncover today, no judgment. And the methods that I want to show you are, 1, it's the 5 steps back method. Type it in the comments so you guys remember to timestamp it, or I think it shows up as a timestamp after. The 5 steps back method. I created this because I was a total self-judger. I would make sure that I felt terrible about myself all the time. That was my MO in life, was just, you could be better, you should do this, you could be here, you blah, blah, whatever. Just so much negative self-talk. And the greatest thing with my mind, because I didn't want to go into my mind. Many of us, who wants to go into their mind, right? You're like, well, we'll come out. I'm afraid. I don't have the tools to go into my subconscious. There's trauma buried there. There's some really yucky things in there. Mandy, you're telling me I have to go in there? We don't have to revisit the trauma. That's a part of my philosophy as well. We just have to understand the belief that we live out today because of that trauma. So if I go back to my 10-year-old self when I experienced a certain trauma, which I'll talk about my story just a little bit in a second, because I know a lot of you are new, a lot of you are a Hay House audience. or you have never heard of me, perhaps, I don't know. Let me know if you guys know me. I would love to hear that too. But I want to share just a few pieces of my story to put it all together, then we'll jump into the mind. And so when we look at these different pieces of our minds, we remember that regardless of where we are at right now, there's always a shift that can happen, and beautifully so. So the 5 steps back method allows for us to see something is happening. We're triggered, we're upset, whatever it may be. And I'll bring back the 5 steps method in a minute, but we're going to need it right now also. So I would take 5 steps back, maybe literally I would step backwards if I had the space to do it, just so my whole body, my whole essence was a part of it, right? And then I would go back and I'd be like, I'm not emotional about this. I'm not going to jump right into the self-flagellation or the judgment that I would normally go to. I'm curious. I'm genuinely curious why I feel this way right now. What is this? Why was that the emotion that I chose? Whatever it is. So the 5 steps back method is basically you creating a little bit of distance and realizing there is distance between what you may feel or what your reaction is to certain stimuli, and then the reaction that you can so choose, which we'll talk about how to change that as well. Because your reactions to the world, or really the reactions to what you've unconsciously sent outwardly, will either continue it or break it. And then you'll start getting new things coming to you, and magic happens. Okay, so let's dive into a little bit of my story. My story is vast. I'm sure all of yours is as well. This is some humanistic pieces to my story as well as my soul. And there's so much that I leave out as well each time because I'm tapping into everyone here and there's different things that need to be said each time. So way back, coming in as a clean slate, and became a child of trauma, unfortunately, many forms of trauma. Some of them being divorce, some of them being raised by someone who was suffering from mental illness. My stepfather, I love him very much, and he's doing much better now. He's no longer married to my mom, but he was our primary caretaker. And so the dysfunction and the lack of understanding why things didn't make sense, because we didn't know of his illnesses until we were adults, young adults. And so unfortunately, that became my norm. Things just don't make sense. My father, my biological father, was an addict, pills, alcohol, you name it, and was kind of in and out. He had so much trauma chasing him, and he had no idea how to shut it off. And on top of that, my father's side, that lineage is just incredibly intelligent, high IQs, inventor, types. My great-grandfather, I should say. My grandfather beat the heck out of my father and many other things. And although my father was also very intelligent, I think that overactive mind, which I also had, you want to numb it out. And I numbed it out in different ways, but he chose substances. And he tried to kill himself when I was 13, and he called me as he was doing it. And that was pretty much where my light had already started shutting off. I told you guys about, 10 years old, but I won't talk about exactly what happened there. But when I was 13, that was when I was like, screw it. Life is not worth living, clearly, because my father doesn't even want to do it, and I'm not worth sticking around for. And so I really shut off my light, and that's when I started to choose dysfunction. I was a child that used to help every special needs kid. The principal would pull me out of classes and bring me into classrooms to calm down other children in grade school. I had a unique little gift, I would say. I totally shut that off, dropped out of all of my gifted programs, didn't want to do any athletics. All that jazz, just everything to make myself undesirable was, what I was doing in essence. And I was angry, so much anger that it ended up affecting my liver in my early 20s, because it just, all that stress and that frustration of the world sat there in my organs. And so my adolescence continued on with getting involved in drugs and drug dealers and people who would commit crimes. And most of them now are dead or in jail, or still addicts, or a few of them, changed their life around and they're working at a restaurant now, or, helping other addicts as well. And that's beautiful, but that was what I chose. I've lost so many of my friends and, family as well to dysfunction. And so that led to more and more dysfunction. And in my early 20s, I chose primarily, there was a few good people that came through, but I think I pushed them away, I'm sure, because I was so used to dysfunction at that point, and it was so attractive to me. I was like, ooh, this friend wants to take advantage of me? Fantastic. This person wants to lie to me, cheat on me, or abuse me? That works for me. And so I then chose what I couldn't choose as a child per se. It followed me, and the programming, my mind became wired to bring it forth to me. Now, if you had told me when I was being abused by one of my exes that I was choosing it, I probably actually would have agreed with you, because I was so feeling like I'm so broken, it's all my fault. But I would have been like, but I'm a good person. So why is this happening to me? I keep giving all of myself, all of that weird stuff. So my mind was, it was all off. It was totally off at that point. And I had this beautiful defining moment. So Mandy, when did everything change? How in the heck are you here today and in truly completely different fashion, a completely different person, an authentic version of me, the version of me that used to help everybody and was a light for others, right? Well, should you ask? I was with a very abusive, my most abusive relationship, and we had dated off and on for about 2 years, and he threw a glass at my face as he was calling me some very, very horrible, untrue words. And for some weird reason, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit with y'all's minds, the ceiling in the basement, for some weird reason, that was my breaking point. That was my rock bottom when it became physical, when glass was heading towards my face. And I just got this incredible strength, an inner strength that now I walk around with daily. It's no big deal at all. Like, no one's messing with me, but it's not from protection mode. It's just, you feel the essence of me, and it's different. And so that really filled me up, and I just screamed and I said, get out. I probably meant the little apartment, but I also meant my life, my reality. Get this energy out. Now, I had spent years prior, I probably should have thrown this in there. I had spent years prior studying quantum physics, metaphysics. I had degrees in psychology. I was going for my PhD. Is this my hair? No, it's the background. I started my PhD, which I dropped out of twice, by the way. Not for me, but I was going for it. And I had studied with NASA scientists. I had studied with other types of scientists. I had seen the impossible happen over and over again. I was finding myself in my early 20s, even with all my dysfunction, I still would have these pockets of times where I would be surrounded by and be like, how did I get in this room with all these geniuses? Not remembering that I'm from, maybe a similar lineage in some ways. And then being able to help these people. And then also seeing, okay, if energy works this way, how do I apply it to my life? And that never crossed my mind. So I had all of this knowledge and a background in psychology, and my life looked like crap. And I felt like crap. And so someone's having a hard time getting in. I'm sorry, maybe switch to a different device or something. And so I felt absolutely terrible. And for some reason, all of that knowledge, up until then, I couldn't apply it. I didn't do anything with it. It wasn't the missing piece. Love was, funny enough, and I'll pepper that in, don't worry. And so in that moment, he left, because I think he scared himself, dropped to my knees and called out to my higher power. And I was like, there's got to be something else here. And for some reason, the thing that came out of my mouth, I still have it in my journal and everything that night. Avid journaler. I journal all the time since I was 5. Whenever people are like, do you really remember your past? I'm like, I actually wrote it that day. So here's this May 16th, 1996. This is exactly how it happened. And I remember for some reason what came out of my mouth was, I know I'm here for a reason. Please show it to me. And one of my greatest fears in life was that I would come to this planet and I wouldn't do what I was supposed to do here. For some reason, that was a fear I had for years prior. And I certainly wasn't doing it, so it made the fears worse. And I think it was like the pure vibration I was in, but I just gave myself over to service. And I'm not saying this is what you guys need to do. I'm just telling you my story. Don't worry. I did all the work so that I can make it easier for you guys. So you don't need to go to rock bottom. You don't need to do any of that stuff. I'm here with you now. And so I sat there and I gave myself over to service. And then I walked over to my little bathroom and I looked in my mirror and I was like, humanity, I promise I will show up. Not for me, but for you. Because I wasn't worthy at that point. I still had plenty I needed to work through. But I was willing to do it for the world. And y'all, my life turned upside down. Immediately, my now husband showed up. And oh my gosh, that love story is one, it'll take too long, but someday I'll have to tell you guys. He showed up, became my best friend, and soon I fell in love with him. Totally tried to sabotage it, was afraid. He was so amazing. I was thinking I was gonna mess it up. You know, I run from healthy, functioning, balanced, masculine and feminine people. How could I? Ooh. And I left my job, and I left the state of Florida that I was living in. I obviously left that abusive relationship, that day, and amazing things happened. Amazing things. The most incredible people started showing up in my life, and I was on a journey. And I can say that moment was the moment I never turned back. There was absolutely more moments of growth. I call it growth now. Trials, tribulations. My father died. I recently had a miscarriage. Life still happened to me, but I was different. And I was handling life differently because I started understanding how my mind played into it. So anyways, now I sit here today, and thank you guys for your compliments on our home, in our beautiful house. We have a retreat center. I am writing a book with Hay House, which comes out in like 2 weeks now, not even 2 weeks, March 22nd, however many days that is. I'll let you guys do the math. And wild, amazing things. This huge company called Authentic Living that is continuing to touch more people. I have served world leaders, Olympic athletes, moms, dads, nurses, teachers, celebrities, you name it. I have been called to duty, if you will. And there's so much I have learned in really seemingly a short amount of time. Every time I talk to someone who's been in the psychology world, neuroscience, anything, they're like, how are you doing what you do? And I'm like, I am growing every freaking day. I understand my mind, my energy, my emotions. I use them to my advantage, and I don't know, maybe I've been gifted it because I'm so willing to help other people learn it too. Because I believe that if I had it to myself, then it wouldn't be very exciting for me. Because I'm just one person, I'm one cell in the body. But if I can impact, I call it the ripple effect. But if I can impact someone else, and then they can impact someone else that I can't impact because they don't maybe like the way I look, or they would never learn about manifestation, or they're afraid, or whatever it is, but for some reason they'll impact them, and then that person will wake up, and then they'll wake up and wake up and wake up. I'm like, this is so beautiful. Imagine the world walking around consciously, taking responsibility for who they are, how they feel, and loving each other unconditionally, and manifesting anything, whatever the F they want. Yeah, I'm in. Sign me up. How many people can I teach this to? So anyway, that brings us here. That's why I'm doing a free challenge for this, y'all. I'm giving you as much information as I can in a short, condensed amount of time. And there's going to be something amazing on the third day. So make sure that you are watching all of these in fullness, because we're going to jump into some really cool stuff. But let me know if this is resonating so far. And now we'll actually jump into the meat and potatoes of the mind so that we can all grow together. Because if I'm in a really high vibration, like a charged battery, I can juice you up. And if I'm ever a little bit low, then I've gotten you high and you can juice me up. And then we all take care of each other as, in humanity. And God knows the world needs it right now, not more than ever. We've had, unfortunately, many moments in history where we need to come together, but we've got to find the root solution to it. So I'm just doing my little part here. And so far, the ripple effect that I have seen, given that I have worked with some very seemingly powerful people, I guess. And when they experience unconditional love, the things they do for humanity that you'll probably never even know that they did, I'm a part of that. I want you guys to be a part of that too. There's no words. It's so freaking incredible. And I think that's why I'm so blessed too. Actually, there was this gal, one of these, she's on TikTok. I really, really like her. Her name's Lindsay. She made a video yesterday because I had given her an early copy of the book. And she said one of the most powerful things that I've read in this book, she's like, I won't spoil it all, but she was like, one of the most powerful things is that when you manifest for the highest good of all, you're not manifesting for yourself, but you take everybody into account, your manifestations are expedited. And they are beautiful, and there's no backlash. There is no counter manifestation because everybody wins with it. And I think that is why, when I surrendered, I was like, highest good of all. Like, that's something I say so much. You guys are probably like, why does she always say that? It's because I'm making sure that I cloak that. Like, if I want something, awesome. If I want a Ferrari, in the highest good of all. And I kid you not, at this vibration now, people will call and be like, hey, this person, they own a Ferrari dealer and they saw your video, and I'll be like, yes, like, I don't really like Ferraris, but if I wanted one, right? If it's in the highest good of all. But if it's not, that's okay, and I surrender that. And that day that I surrendered, when I was on my knees being all dramatic and gotten this really incredible vibration, I said, I don't care if I have kids, I don't care if I have money, I don't care, blah, 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 blah. And that type of surrender brings in pure possibility. But I was genuinely okay with whatever showed up, and I still am. And whenever I get too attached to my things, I always go back and I say, Mandy, get back to surrender, because that's not the vibration where all the manifestations happen. And so now I can, create whatever, but there's so few needs. It's funny like that. But what came with it in that pure space of possibility was a is it multi-seven figure? Is that how it works? Do you say 7-figure or multi-7-figure, babe?
Yeah, multi-works.
Whatever. Huge, incredible purpose work that has blessed me as well. And y'all, I used to not be able to buy my own groceries. So it's cool to have that extra little thing. Didn't think I was going to. And the incredible love and abundance I have with my husband, who relationships used to be so tick for tack, so manipulative, just so yucky in general. And that was my friends as well. And my husband's like, oh, you guys know him, spiritual activator, Oliver. He's freaking amazing. I love him so much. And our beautiful children. Okay, anyways, I could go on and on and on. Just so many incredible blessings that came with me honoring the highest good of all. So I urge you all, I invite you all, if it feels right, to, on all of your manifestations, whenever you want to create something, or just when you say your prayers at night, if you pray or something, just throw in a little highest good of all. It feels really good. And you're taking all of existence into account. So then the authenticity of you honors the authenticity of others. And that's how we become this incredible unit of, if we were all in a high vibration, this wouldn't even look like planet Earth. It would be insane. All of your needs would be met and you would have no needs. I promise you. So just remember that. Okay. Let's actually jump into the content now that I've talked for 30 minutes? Perfect. Okay, so the first piece that I want to go into, the subconscious real. This is just kind of an understanding of what it is in case you've never heard me talk about it. And then we'll go into how to change it. So throughout life, you pick up your programming. That could be cultural, religious, from your family specifically, society, you name it, right? You pick up stuff. And that could be in the trauma moments. The trauma is an energetic stamp. Whether you have had an extreme, perceivably by definition trauma, like I've had some of my coaches and they're like, I actually had a really good life and I feel terrible. And am I even worthy to serve? And I'm like, trauma is different for everybody. Trauma could be that someone didn't want to swing with you on the swing set one day, and for some reason it just energetically hit you in such a way that you carried it with you. So there's no, in this particular parameter, there's no trauma, too big or too small. But it's an energetic stamp of emotions that you experience that gets impressed upon you and then changes your behaviors moving forward. That would be what sits in the subconscious real in the way we're talking about it. And that would be considered a trauma as I use that word today. And so in our subconscious sits all of the programming that was birthed from the traumas or from the beliefs that we were given. Not the beliefs we naturally have in our authenticity, but what we were given, right? So this subconscious real, it never stops. So you might wake up and you're like, Mandy, I did my manifestations today. I did my mantras for 10 minutes this morning, and I sat in meditation for another 10 minutes. Cool, 20 minutes. Awesome. And if you're in a super high vibration, I'm going to sound like I'm contradicting myself, but I just want to make sure I'm hitting all the angles. If you're in a super high vibration, you might be able to do a little set it and forget it manifestation, which I will teach you guys about probably on the last day. We'll do lots of different techniques and stuff. But you might be able to do that. But as soon as those 20 minutes are up, you have over 23 hours where your energy doesn't shut off. It's not like, oh, done doing all the positive stuff. Bloop, let's not, talk to the universe anymore. That communication system continues. And if your subconscious real, again, it's playing all the time, right? If it's playing, love is unsafe, you are not worthy of money, or here's all the rules on how you have to be worthy of these things, or your boss doesn't like you, so you're never going to get the promotion. And even if you're not aware of the thoughts, They are still holding a frequency signature and they are still communicating with the universe. The universe is a Xerox, just a copy machine. It's just going to pump back out what you gave it. So this is something, it was the hardest lesson sometimes for me because my ego would come in. But I'd be like, my life looks the way it does because of me. At this point, right? If you are blessed enough to have internet, I think you might be able to change your life. At minimum, you can change the way you react and then just go from there and you'll see how your life changes. You're blessed, right? You have the ability to manifest. And so when I would look at that, I'd be like, oh, wow, okay, wait a second. Again, no judgment, no shame, Mandy, remember that. But I created this. So there's something in my subconscious that I'm not aware of yet. There's some rule. There's some belief I'm living by. There's some thought that keeps revisiting me, probably trying to be healed. There's some trauma that keeps resurfacing in a funky, I'm trying not to cuss, and I'm kind of a cursor, and in a funky way. Well, I've got to figure that out. That becomes the magic. First of all, y'all, it can be fun. And when you master it, as you start going, oh, wow, that thought came up and man, I worked that one out through Mandy's method or whatever in like 5 minutes, and eventually it becomes 5 seconds. It is so amazing. You just become this walking beacon of transmuting your own energy until you don't even need to do it anymore. And you're always on that high vibration that I keep talking about. It's freaking amazing. And this is something, I really want you to let this soak in. I was telling this recently to, I said this before already somewhere else, but I was working with a veteran, and he, unfortunately, a whole lot of war trauma. He was a younger kid, actually younger than me. And I was talking to him about it, and we were talking about different programming and so forth outside of, the war piece we kind of worked through, but there was some earlier, traumas. And I said, okay, so most of these behaviors that you do, we've already figured out where we got them from, right? He's like, yeah. And let me tell you, I don't think he'd ever heard the word manifesting. So it was great trauma work we did. But I blew his head right out of the water, I think. He's doing fantastic right now. But I was like, okay, so you picked it up, right? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, and it's destroying your life? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, so can you set it down? And the way I said it, y'all, so really listen to it. If you picked it up, you can put it down. So regardless of how long you have been holding the incorrect beliefs, the incorrect rules, the incorrect thoughts and energy and all that comes with it, I don't care how deep in you are, you can completely change it. You can set it down in fullness. I'm teaching you how to do that. Okay, cool. Subconscious real. Thumbs up. Does everybody understand? Me too. I gotta stop that swearing stuff. Light worker. I'm gonna check the comments really quick because I really like to. Should probably scroll up a little bit more. Your service to others is uplifting. Thank you. It only lets me scroll up so much, so I'm sorry if I miss yours. Do is help those less fortunate. Stay in high vibration, doesn't last long, then energy dips to lower sludge and the same old thing. Okay, perfect. I'm loving that you're saying this. Perfect. Highest good of all, got my answer. Thank you. Working with the feeling. Absolutely. Ooh, thank you for reminding me of that. So yes, I want to remind you all what you want. Who here wants to manifest something physical? A house, a car, career, a child. Speaking of, oh my gosh, I have to read this to you guys really fast. This was someone who, I don't post these enough. I need to start posting this stuff because I get so many people who tell me what they've done with my work, and it's so beautiful and so amazing. If you're in this group, don't worry, I won't say your name, but she was on an old challenge. Where is it? Anyways, this is someone who this was after one of the challenges, I believe it was, that she had done. Thank you. I took you in, I'm going all over the place. I'm sorry, guys. Thank you. I took you and your husband's virtual seminar in the summer of 2020. I wanted to let you know that you helped me manifest my daughter. I was told it would be hard for me to get pregnant and may never have kids, and I tried for over 10 years. But after your seminar, I got pregnant. I didn't know I was pregnant until 3 months after because I didn't think anything of it when I skipped my period. And I know that it was your manifestation class that helped me put her into existence. And like you said, to say it or write it down at my highest vibration. And that's what exactly happened. So thank you. I can't wait for your book. I get that stuff, guys, this makes it so worth it. But it was so beautiful. So children even, whatever it is. So what do you guys want to create, right? Something physical. Now, this may blow your mind, or you've heard me say it a million times, but it never gets old. You don't want the thing as much as you want the feeling you think it will give you. We are energetic beings having an emotional experience. So emotions are everything. Emotions are actually one of the first units of consciousness that we experience. So, and tomorrow we're going into emotions a ton. So I'm going to show you how to begin the process of mastering those. But your emotion, your emotional experience is what you really want. So if I want the house on the hill, I'm going to talk about this again tomorrow. So you guys are going to, again, I like to repeat myself because then it goes where it needs to go sometimes. If I want that house on the hill, right? Why do I want it? Why? I have to ask myself. And if my why is rooted in a heavy intention, like I want to feel worthy, or then my parents will finally be proud of me, or then maybe someone will date me or whatever. Those are low, dense intentions. That is not going to get us where we want to go. Our intention in and of itself needs to be on a high vibration, because I can watch my children run around, because I deserve that level of abundance, but you got to feel it. So we'll talk about embodiment tomorrow. But I just want to remind you all, regardless of what you want, and you can absolutely have it, but we got to flip the energy around it, because what you're really looking for is an emotional experience. And we can achieve that many different ways. Okay, so the next thing is the roller coaster experience. There's a few pieces to this. So the roller coaster experience is what I was saying earlier. Like, things are great, things suck. Things are great, things suck, right? In between this, you guys are going to have to visualize with me for a minute here. In between this space is a high called your ceiling. I'm going to talk slow for a second. A high called your ceiling and a low called your basement. And currently you live right here. You ping pong from your ceiling to your basement, your ceiling to your basement. It might take you years to do it. It might just take a couple of minutes. You might do it multiple times a day, but you're riding these crazy waves of energy, emotions, and experiences because of what's happening, as I burp, in your mind. Now, this is how we're going to break this. This is so freaking important. So I'm going to be talking for quite a minute here. So when we're talking, when we're talking about the roller coaster, when we go to the top of the roller coaster, something happens right before we hit the peak, before we hit our ceiling, right? And if you guys don't follow me on TikTok, find me there, because I've got some videos where I like draw this whole thing out. But you find that at the top of the peak is when we hit our ceiling and we realize it's too good, sabotage it now, or whatever. What actually happens before that is the trigger. The trigger, and sometimes it's not always a great thing too, so it's fine. There's positive triggers, negative triggers, and so forth. Right now we're talking about negative triggers. So you experience a negative trigger, right? Something that sets you off, it changes your energy, it changes the way you feel. You're now frustrated, you're now angrier, you are now anxious, fill in the blank. Like, what are the typical emotions you feel as soon as you get triggered? And what are your triggers? Tell me, y'all. I used to have so many. Oh my gosh. Anytime money was talked about, anytime I'd look at my bank account, so anything money, bills would come in, relationships. If Oliver, my husband, wouldn't answer me fast enough, if he showed up late from home, that would have been a trigger. Thankfully, it solved itself within I don't know, it was very quick just because he was a different person. But if I was actually with someone who may actually be doing something bad, man, that trigger was horrible. I don't know, I had a million triggers. Now, again, a trigger throws you off your typical state, right? Makes you feel funky. It makes you inauthentic, and it lowers your vibration, right? This is so important. We think that we are victims to our triggers. But if you can step into, even for just a moment, the idea and accept the idea that the triggers that you experience are not, in fact, outside of your control, and you can literally desensitize the trigger to the point where the trigger no longer shows up because you're not feeding your consciousness into it. Does that make sense? Everything I just said? Then it is absolute magic. But I need you to know that it is completely possible. You can do that, and you need to do that. And we're going to talk about how to do that. But let's take it one step further. What happens after you get triggered is you fall into a persona. Now, personas, let me give you a little background on that. So I learned about And I didn't know that personas, it's actually a word that most people use, but I just called it like as a shortened version of a personality, right? A persona. And I had worked with and also know individuals who have DID, dissociative identity disorder, also previously known as multiple personalities. And so I realized that all of us, in very different fashion, by all means, I'm not trying to make a correlation that's inappropriate here, but in very different means, we all have parts of us because of life traumas or things we picked up in our programming that when we are triggered, we may not have the exact same reaction as someone who has DID, but we do change our behaviors and we see the world differently. And so I was sitting there and I'm like, okay, so we step into a persona. So we get triggered, something frustrating happens, and then we change our worldview, if you will. I imagine we put on some different lenses. The world is unsafe now. Or someone looked at me funny, or they looked at my stomach. Now I'm in my persona of I'm out of shape and I should have worked out, and self-loathing, right? And that persona might eat differently, might have different self-talk, might interact with people differently, right? Might not want to interact with people at all. But then you might also have this persona that's, when you're feeling frustrated at work because you can't get a project done. So then you become like super anxious, and then you pressure yourself, or then people come to you and they start, dogging on you, whatever it is. You're seeing the world through different lenses. Now, or if we want to go back, further, I have a 10-year-old persona. Or if someone, let's say, experienced some type of assault, then in certain situations, and maybe sometimes they're walking around in that persona often, but they'll be in that age. Sometimes there's like the 4-year-old. I've had plenty of clients who unfortunately, had a trigger warning, had experienced molestation or sexual assault. Then they would fall into and really live their whole life jumping in and out of that protection of that version of them. And so we all have personas. The most important piece I want you to understand about personas is, one, it's a part of you, but it's not all of you. The healed persona, which we'll talk about, the healed persona can be a part of your authentic self. But the unhealed one needs to be understood. How does it become understood? Every persona has a need. Every persona. Your job, after you get triggered, and as soon as you can find clarity, is to figure out what persona you jumped into, which is basically, what am I telling myself? They hate me. I'm fat. They don't like me. I'm going to lose all my money and turn out like my mom, or whatever it is. You need to know what you're telling yourself. But when you take that one step further and you figure out what you're telling yourself, you'll see, I have a need. That persona has a beautiful need to feel safe, maybe to feel certain, maybe to feel loved, to feel connected, whatever it is, but it has a beautiful need underneath. It's just not meeting it in the healthiest of ways. Because when you get triggered and you jump into a persona, typically your reaction does not serve you in the highest, right? Shutting down when you should be speaking your truth, let's just say. Running away when you should confront. Self-judging instead of self-loving, getting smaller energetically instead of expanding, numbing out, whether that's with substances or just shutting off emotionally instead of leaning in and getting curious. So again, the persona came from something in the past, but it gets re-triggered in the present, and then you jump into that part of you that is unhealed. And then, unfortunately, we start counter-manifesting, because usually, again, if it's an unhealed part of us, it's not a super high vibrational thing. But the need that it has needs to be met. It cannot be ignored. You don't want a starved persona, right? We don't want to starve our most basic needs. We just want to meet them in a healthy and elevated, vibrationally, an elevated way. So whenever I find myself triggered now, I genuinely do this, y'all. I'll be like, for one, for me to get triggered without like it automatically kind of rewiring itself, my subconscious now almost does it for me. I'll be like, oh, I'm triggered. Oh, wow, that's been sitting for like a good 2 minutes. Okay, let's stop, take 5 steps back. What's actually happening here? What am I telling myself? Okay, I'm telling myself that da-da-da-da-da. Okay, is that true, Mandy? Probably not. Is this a persona? It might be, or yes, it absolutely is. Sometimes it's clearer, and sometimes you're like, let me take a few more steps back. Okay, yes, yeah, it's I'm feeling really unheard right now, or I'm feeling I'm tired, I'm over the top right now, and I'm feeling like everybody wants too much from me, or something like that. Okay, so what's the need? Is it solitude? Is it self-care? Is it to reach out and ask for a hug? Okay, so instead of me doing what I would normally do, which is shut off, numb out, turn everything down, whatever you may do, all right, instead I will do the opposite. I will interrupt the flow of energy that I normally go to, because that gives me more of what I do not want. I continue to feel out of control when I choose that reaction. There might be a momentary perceived reward of shutting down, or of yelling at everybody, or of falling into victim mode, or taking a substance or something like that. But it always backfires, doesn't it? The highest path never backfires. There's no counter manifestations when you're in flow and you're choosing to lean in and understand yourself instead of avoid yourself. So regardless of what personas show up, we take a couple steps back, always pouring as much possible love, as much love as we can, and going, I'm curious why I'm triggered. Because at this point, and remember, sometimes you have to look at other people and see proof of it, right? You're like, man, that person just called that other person a complete freaking idiot and told them they were ugly or something. You'd be like, if I heard that, I would be destroyed for months. But they just let it roll off their back. They literally didn't even care. You could literally tell that they were completely unfazed. They've mastered themselves. The environment doesn't shift them. So even when a random weird frequency tries to see if, like, you'll sniff it, right? You're like, what's that smell? Don't go to it, right? You're like, not for me. I'm solid, I'm centered, I know where I'm at, I know when I'm triggered, and I know what to do with it. And I know that this is just a part of the human experience. I'm not here to flail in the wind. I'm solid. But we have to get to that place, right? So again, write it down if you need to right now, or post it in the okay, good, you guys are loving this. But post it here is, okay, I'm triggered right now. That does not mean my sky is falling. That does not mean that I have sabotaged everything and everything's gone to total SHIT and blah, 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 blah. I am actually learning about myself. I am mastering my vibration. And if I master my vibration, and then all of the stuff that I'm trying to get to that I've been unwilling to do the work on before, or I didn't know I needed to get there, it's getting closer. And that is something that I've deeply associated in my mind, y'all, and it makes growth so much fun. Every time that something big is coming and I'm like, oh, I'm really triggered, or I'm feeling really uncertain. I'm not like, oh my gosh, I'm losing it. I don't have the power. I'm not strong enough. I'm not smart enough. All that stuff I used to tell myself, which was personas coming out, which was perceptions and rules and beliefs that were not true. And sometimes your personas will have contradicting rules, by the way. So you can imagine why you never get anywhere, because they're all fighting with each other, right? And so I'd sit there and be like, no, this doesn't make any sense. No. Steps back. And instead I would roll my sleeves up and get so excited, because I knew that it wasn't here to mess me up. It was here to help me grow. It was feedback from the universe showing me these pain points that I hadn't figured out within my own vibration yet, that were blocking me, that were causing me pain, that I was giving my incredible consciousness and power away to. So no way, man. I don't want to do that, right? I like how free you are with language, because I try not to swear or use bad words or what others think are bad. I'm trying to. So, does that make sense, y'all? You get triggered. You tell yourself something. Now, there's the magic in there. That little piece of the pie, trigger to the persona. There is space in between. Do you guys see that? Oh. There's space in between. There is actually time in between. I'm so passionate right now. Sorry if I feel like I'm yelling at you guys. Make sure you get it. There is space and time in between. And that is what we tell ourselves. What we tell ourselves. Because your boss could come in and yell at your coworker, and your coworker gets flippin' angry. But your boss yells at you, and you go into total like mousy mode and self-judgment. Same exact yelling, two different reactions, which means that people choose what they tell themselves, and then they choose the persona. They choose the reaction. This is currently potentially happening unconsciously for y'all, but it doesn't need to anymore. Nay. Instead, as soon as we feel, this is how I know I'm triggered, I feel off. The moment I feel anything that I don't want to feel, I call that a trigger. That might be a little bit intense for you at first if you're like, I always feel off. that would have been for me too a decade plus ago. But now, as soon as I feel off, I'm like, I'm curious. Now, I'm not striving for like toxic positivity or everything has to be perfect in every moment. That's not it at all. But I know that my vibration is my responsibility and it will further create what I want or don't want. So I get excited about it because I'm like, wait a second. Did I pick up something that I didn't need to? Am I in a persona that, doesn't really need to belong here? Or am I vibing high? And it's very easy to tell when you're triggered because you can see, okay, something shifted. I don't like the way I feel. I feel powerless right now. I feel frustrated. I feel whatever it is. And that's something, guys, talk about the book. The energetic check-ins I talk about, there's like a whole flipping area of it in the book, energetic check-ins. That's how you get ahead of your triggers. That's how you make it to where you don't have to wait until you're triggered to do the work. Instead, you're checking in with yourself every hour or every couple hours and you're like, how do I feel? What does this mean? What's going on? Am I in a persona? And it gets so fun, guys. I'm not even kidding. Like, maybe you're like, what's your idea of fun, Mandy? I have a lot of fun, thank you. But one of the things that I love about this methodology that I've created is that it is exciting and really, like, when you are starting to master yourself, the reward of the high vibration that always pours in when you get it, when you shift something, it's like a high to chase in and of itself. It feels amazing to step into these higher vibratory levels because so much magic comes with it. Growth will always come with it, and growth means maybe something that your old personas wouldn't like, right? It's not certain. You don't know what it's going to look like. Am I going to lose somebody? Blah, 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 blah. But all of those, again, those sit in the mind. Those are the rules and the thoughts and beliefs that we have that don't have to be true. Okay, now let's jump into, how long have we been going? Probably a good hour in. Yeah, we're almost an hour in. That's okay. We're going on a long one today because I had to do my story and philosophy too. So tomorrow will be shorter. So that trigger, right? What we tell ourselves, then we jump into a persona. What we want to do is in that space in between, and it's okay if you don't, make it right away. It's okay once you're in the persona. We want to do what is called a pattern interrupt. We're talking about neuroscience. We want to, in the brain, right? Our brains are wired a certain way. We've got electricity shooting all over, whatever. Now, I imagine it in simple form. Let's say that I have one neurological pathway, if I could say it, neurological pathway that shoots, and it's the I hate myself one. I hate myself. And so when someone looks at me funny, I get triggered, even though they might just be like about to sneeze, but I saw it the way I saw it, and I'm like, they don't like me. I hate myself. Or I go home and my husband says, you didn't load the dishwasher right or something. And I'm like, I can't do anything right. I hate myself, whatever it is. I'm reinforcing with electricity because the body is electrical in nature. It's also biochemical, right? Yeah, biochemical. I'm like, did I say that right? So that electricity is shooting through and further strengthening the belief. Literally. Beliefs are not these like floaty little things. They're in our brain. They just keep getting reinforced, which is why they become a whole life. We build a world around them because it just keeps happening. And then we look at the whole world through those lenses, and then our brain just keeps going, we're just wired like this forever. But there's neuroplasticity. And neuroplasticity allows for and shows that the brain can in fact rewire itself. I'm a perfect example of that. I have, not brain imaging, but I have some feedback from when I was in my early 20s, and where I am today. Very different looks, very different things that I'm learning through now. I burp sometimes when I'm speaking truth. And so anyway, so then we've got all that, I hate myself. Well, let's say that you buy the 8 secrets, or throughout the next 3 days with me, something just clicks and you're like, I don't know if I hate myself. I think I kind of like myself. And this one goes this way, right? Whatever. They don't always cross, but just go with me on this. You're like, I kind of like myself. Those personas aren't really me. I just picked those up. I can set them down. Dang, okay, this is weird. The brain will scan itself. Brain pruning. The brain will eventually, it takes a little bit of time depending on where you're at in your scans, but the brain will scan itself. And it will strengthen the weak as in like it's new. Like it's like, sometimes it goes there, sometimes the electricity makes it. And the other one's always like, meep, meep, meep. Well, that brain pruning will scan and be like, there's this new little I love myself neurological pathway. Let's strengthen it. And then it will go over to the I hate myself neurological pathway. I'm really making this so simplistic, so don't quote me on the total science behind all the things I'm saying. This is how it works in layman's terms. and then it will scan over, and let's say that it runs into the I hate myself neurological pathway. It'll cut that stuff. It'll cut it. I'm going to say it. It'll cut that shit. Cut that shit out, man. It will literally prune it. Bah! Of course, if you're not using it as much. So that's why we want to build these new beliefs. We want to rewire the brain very quickly. And let me tell y'all, I have seen that stuff happen in real time, instantaneously. It's like I could watch the new neurological pathway get built when they're at an event, or when I was doing the psychosomatic work in the clinics. When I would hit on the deepest thought and the one thing that just, it turned them up on their heads, you could just see the flood of energy and the newness of their mind going, oh my gosh. And they accepted the new truth. That's the biggest piece. You can't lie to your brain. You can't lie to your mind. It has to make sense. You have to be on board with it, or the brain will be like, that's a lie. That's not possible. That's one of the reasons I don't like mantras and affirmations unless they're done correctly. I'm always like, you can't sit there and stare at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm a millionaire, unless you really believe it, right? But if there's a part of you where you're like, I'm a millionaire, and your subconscious reel is going, bullshit, no you're not, or we're never gonna get there, or you haven't dealt with breaking the rules that sit in that part of you, ain't gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen. And if anything, I feel like the brain then like throws a wall up and is like, we're never gonna let the millionaire thing happen because it's a lie, right? We're never gonna find our soulmate. That's a lie. Everybody's been terrible before. How can we find our purpose work now? Whatever, right? So don't lie to yourself. Make sure that your mantras and your affirmations, if you do them, and I have some, I have a bunch in the book and stuff, but you have to work with the brain first. You got to work with your mind first, so that your mantras are, I am in process of, I'm working on this, whatever, to where you're like, my energy is on board with it. My energy is on board with the new rule. My energy is on board with the belief. My mind is thumbs upping this, because otherwise you will meet so much unnecessary resistance. You get it? Cool. So, second piece, right? Damn lie. Like it, right? And so, this huge piece to this, and I'm just going to drop this for now, and then I think we'll talk about it a little bit more in emotions tomorrow. When you're working with your mind, it's heady stuff, right? Working with energy, sometimes it's a lot more fun, right? Like if I can just do healing work, then I can avoid my subconscious. But you're human, at least in some ways on this planet, so that's not going to work. You got to work with your mind too, right? But one of the most important pieces to working with your mind is love needs to be present, okay? So as you're digging into, and you're going to be feeling, you're doing these energetic check-ins I just talked about, you're realizing that you're triggered often, and you're going to feel like ping-ponging, remember to stop and pour in some love. Self-love is not something that you have to earn. It is something that is a birthright. It is something that you must do consistently and proactively. I used to starve myself of love because I had all these rules on, in order for me to give myself self-love, whatever self-love looked like. It could be a healthy relationship. It could be a day off. It could, whatever it was. I had all of these effed up rules that didn't make any sense. But I would sit there and I'd be like, well, self-love, I'm not worthy of that. I didn't hit my numbers this month in my job. I didn't, I don't look this way today for this person I'm dating. It was all this stupid stuff. I thought I had to achieve it. Any moms and dads in here where you have like parent guilt, you're like, I can't take a salt bath until I do all these weird things for my child, right? And then by the end of the day, you're like, I never made it to the salt bath, but my cup is so empty, but I'm trying to be a good parent. It's the chicken or the egg, which one comes first? Teach your kids to love themselves by showing them what that looks like, right? I show the world, love yourself. Take some time for you. Fill up your cup before it's empty. Because I can tell you right now, I would not be able to do what I do in the world. Even just something as simple as sitting here and being able to talk to you beautiful souls if I had an empty cup. If I woke up today and was like, I'm not going to journal. I'm just going to cook breakfast for everyone and completely forget about myself. I'm not going to put deodorant on or, curl my hair for a moment so that I just, because that's what feels good to me. Then that would be insane. I wouldn't come to you with the high vibration, right? I wouldn't come to you with clarity. And I certainly couldn't come to you saying, love yourself, if I didn't. So as a beautiful reminder, as you're going into your mind, because it can get heady and it can get heavy in moments until you learn how to do it in a high vibration, remember to stop, take a breather, Go do some self-care, remind yourself that you are totally worthy of this. It can be exciting. It can absolutely be beautiful. I can tell you right now, there's no trauma in my past. There is no belief I have that I couldn't openly and in a high vibrational state share with the world. Nothing's gonna knock me down, man. And if it does, then I'm about to grow and I'll figure out how to master it, right? So I invite you to that because it's completely possible. It was not me years and years ago. But obviously, you can get there. And it can happen very fast. Very, very fast. Okay, beautiful. I'm loving your guys' comments. You're going on a cruise tomorrow? That's so amazing. Jealous. Okay. We're going to go over one more thing. Okay? One more thing. I talked about it earlier a little bit. The ceiling and the basement. Y'all are going to be paying attention to this today and for the rest of your life, I hope. So we have this thing called the ceiling and the basement. I talked about it, right? The ceiling is basically how good will things get before I will sabotage it, before I will just make it terrible. It's too good. This relationship's too healthy. How can I run away? Or work is getting amazing. Let me underperform randomly, right? And then you have your basement. And that's your rock bottom. That is how bad will I allow things to get before I'll change. For me, it was glass has to be thrown in my face before I will get out of this abusive relationship. Bad basement. Don't really think that anyone should go there with me. But you'll have a basement and a ceiling in every area of your life. And they may vary. So you might be like, I am a boss at work. No one's stepping on my toes, blah, 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 blah. Ceiling super high. I'm achiever. But then you're like, but Mandy, I want to manifest my soulmate. And I think that that's kind of bleeding over incorrectly. And like my basement and ceiling are totally effed up over in love. So I would urge you guys to look at each area as like its own like silo. So love, career, purpose work. Maybe money is different than career, purpose work. So put it in its own thing if you'd like. Relationships in general. Like go as specific or as wide as you would like. It's going to eventually funnel down. I like specificity, but you might want to start, big and then go small. But just look at that and be like, okay, based on the past, let's just go with love. Based on the past, these are the times where I start sabotaging a relationship. What's my ceiling? And write it down. And then what's a basement? And write it down. And then stop and ask yourself, again, we're doing curiosity here. It's not like, oh my gosh, I sabotaged that relationship 10 years ago. She was so amazing or he was so amazing. Why did I do that? This is not the time for you to feel bad about yourself. I love you, but no. This is our time to be curious, so we stop doing it. And everything happens for divine reason, so it was exactly as it should be anyways. So if I look at, okay, love, ceiling, basement, right? How bad, how good does it get? Okay, do I want to keep that? Does that work for me? I would be extremely surprised. You probably shouldn't be doing that particular area if you're like, it looks great, love it, fantastic. But you might see, you're like, oh my gosh, I need to raise that ceiling and that basement so bad. The cool thing, this is my rule to the ceiling and basement lesson. When you raise one, the other naturally comes with. So you might be in the basement, but if you're like, let me just push through my ceiling, it's almost like, okay, I'm just gonna do two steps up in my ceiling. The basement goes boop, boop. It just kind of like follows with. It's very rare that one goes and the other doesn't also follow. But I still urge you to look at your ceiling and say, this is what I normally do when I hit my ceiling. And here's what I will do instead so that I bop through it instead of roller coaster slam back down to my basement. Might take you a little while to get there, but you're going to hit there eventually because you're not meant to live in constraints. Humans are not meant to. We like to compartmentalize things. I understand our minds need some compartmentalization, but our lives do not. Our souls do not at all. We are expanding all the time. And the greatest pain we feel is when we stop the expansion, when we try to stifle it, when our program and our past and our trauma and our incorrect fears and personas come in and say, don't do it. No, we must be safe. And then you're like, so I'm super miserable and I still don't actually feel all that safe. This isn't working, right? So ask yourself that ceiling. Okay, next time I hit that ceiling, and almost let me make myself hit that ceiling, right? What am I gonna do? This is what I normally do. I run away, or this is my self-sabotage. This is what I'll do instead. Something that is lighter and brighter, right? Meet the need in a more elevated way. You can see how everything's interconnected. Do you guys see that? Let me know if so. Otherwise, I wanna keep working on these lessons so that they intermingle perfectly. And so when we see that, we also have to go down to our basement and do the same. This is normally when I hit my basement. This is when I'm willing to change. This is when I do something drastic, or when I say no more, or I quit the job, or I leave the relationship, whatever it is, right? That's when you're willing to take action. Is that a healthy basement? Or is it too low? And then same thing as the ceiling. Okay, what normally happens a few steps before my basement happens? And what do I normally do? Okay, those few steps before, that's your new basement. You are not allowed to go beneath it. You treat it as your new basement. So for me, if I were to go back to that relationship, instead of glass hitting my face, it should have been the moment that he called me a disgusting name. That's when I should have left. And then I would have gone further and further, and then I would have never even been with him in the first place, right? All things happen for a reason. It's all good. At least now I can give you guys these lessons. But you guys don't need to get to those types of basements. It's unnecessary. It truly is. Especially since I'm telling you it, right? So that basement, what do you normally do a few steps ahead? What's the kind of that downward spiral? What happens right here before you, right? Before you bottom out? And that's your new basement. Deal? Does that feel good? Okay, cool. Okay, ceiling and basement. Voila. So tomorrow we are going into emotions. We're going into your heart. And we're going to talk about how to use emotions to manifest, to raise your vibration. Because what I see is that most of humanity, I love you guys, deal, yep. And actually, while I'm talking as I'm closing out, I've got a few more minutes. If you guys want to post up a couple questions, I'm happy to run through a few of those as I wrap up this thought here. So tomorrow, we're going to go into this because a lot of individuals feel like they are, part of the personas, right? That they have to succumb to, or they're a victim to the emotions that they experience. Very fortunately, that doesn't have to be that way. Again, it's just what we fall into. It's what we were taught, but we can change it. And so tomorrow, as we dip into why it is so important to heal and open your heart, some of the pieces of how to do it, and then how to utilize your emotions so that you can use them to manifest instead of fall victim to them, beautiful things can happen. Cool. I think there's a little bit of delay. If you guys have any questions on the mind, stick with the mind for today. I'm happy to hang out with you guys for a couple more minutes and answer anything that you have, anything I said that maybe didn't make sense you want me to go over again. I'm here to serve you all. And it's been so fun. There was a lot of energy flowing through me. So if you're like, I'm wiped, that's okay. If you're like, I need to listen to this again, fantastic. The gift is in the shit. That's great. Okay. Should have left when he said he never wanted children. Basement. Okay. I dig this. Such a great session. Thank you. Thank you all so much. Your guys' gratitude means the world to me. Okay, what if your sabotage feels out of your control in the moment, like getting sick, things breaking? So I will tell you right now, off the record, not as a doctor, but as someone who had studied psychosomatic illnesses and worked with so many people on it, this is from the scientists and doctors' mouths that I researched with. Colds and many, many illnesses, at least in what we saw, very high percentage, I guess I won't give you the exact percentage, well over 80%, it was really like 90-ish%, is psychosomatic. So it's in the mind somewhere. So if you can use these pieces like the triggers that I was talking about, ooh, what happened? There we go. Like the triggers that I was talking about and so forth, that will be the absolute piece to understanding and starting to uncover why am I, these things that seem like outside of me, because they feel so far out. You're like, an illness? How in the heck, right? Or this, that, or the other. It's sitting in the ethers, and it's our energy that pulls it forth. So we just have to understand that communication. So I think the biggest thing is to accept that you may be manifesting some of these things with no judgment, totally with love, but come to it with curiosity. Why would this happen? What am I suppressing? What shows up when I get sick? Do I get to finally rest? And so now I don't have to do everything for everybody. What's the perceived reward? Does that make sense? Okay. Is it still possible for friends to watch this tomorrow? Absolutely. Okay. I know, I'm going to try and read through some of these questions. They just, what? I should probably do it on the phone. Because I think then I'll see more of them. Because for some reason this one, it cuts off pretty quick. Oh, look, it's me. Oh, no. I only have one question. Okay, no, we're good. All right, we'll see. Some of these may also not fully load for me. I want to make this bigger. Okay, let's just rock and roll. So session is over, but obviously, if you guys have ever seen it in my Q&As, there's tons of lessons that drop in when we're answering questions as well. Okay, question. When I say an affirmation that isn't true now, I tell my subconscious that I am entering a command for the future so we understand it isn't true at the moment. Do you think that is okay? It feels okay. If it feels okay, absolutely. And I want to remind you guys of this. Regardless of anyone you learn from, run everything they say through your own filter. There might be things I say and you're like, that's just not for me today. It might be for you in a year. It might have been for you in the past. That's okay. But make sure you're always trusting yourself first. You have the answers in you. I'm a facilitator of bringing your truth out. That's at least how I like to see it. I'm not a guru. No one is. Who's your, how funny, who's your teacher, mentor, from what material? No one. Source. And I want to be careful with that because yes, I do have degrees in psychology. I hate to say it. I don't feel like I learned anything. I'm sure I did. I don't apply anything that I learned. I have a coaching program. It's a practitioner program really. And they're using that for therapy all around the world. So for some reason, I built it myself. And manifestation was not something that I learned. It was not something that I was taught. It was just, I didn't know I was even going to be teaching manifestation. It stumbled upon me after I kind of compiled all of my gifts. And something, one of my gifts that I don't really talk about much is pulling divine information. So people call me a channel. And so I would sit there, all of my programs were actually like birthed through a meditative state. And then I would record my voice as I spoke. And then I would build, the program, peppering in my life experiences and understandings, of course, and just the way my brain works in observing humanity and seeing what isn't working, and then turn it into something really digestible, really simplistic, and really tangible. People would call me the bridge. So I would bridge information of, this otherworldly knowledge, or all of the science, all of my incredible friends who are so freaking intelligent. But you hear them talk and you're like, I have no idea what they're saying. For some reason, I completely get it, but I can turn it into something that is actually applicable for human life. So I didn't learn from anybody. Never did. Thank you. I'm a borderline, feel like I am crazy. I've been doing spiritual work and I can't explain it, move of it. If I think I understand what you were saying, I think you were typing pretty fast. Love. Love is so unbelievably important, especially if you're doing energy work and if your mind's kind of going crazy with it. Love, 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 love. Unconditional love. It will slow everything down and allow for all the information to come through with a little bit more ease. It's more gentle. Wow, that's so, ooh, I love this. Wow, this isn't a question, but I'm going to say it anyways. Wow, that's so interesting. So I always get ill before something great is supposed to happen. So I've noticed that people, this is my thoughts here. I've noticed that people get sick when they are about to shift in vibration, or they are blocking the higher vibration in rising. Okay. Is it possible to manifest something for someone else? I love this question. It depends on how you ask it. My simple answer would be no. And that's because you're adhering to, I hope, the highest good of all. But when you raise your vibration, you focus on you, because that is the one thing that you're in charge of, right? When you do that, miraculous things happen to those that you also want to impact. Like if I had just sat there and said, well, let me just give to the world, but let me not actually understand it, or let me, be the highest version of me, then you guys wouldn't be able to hear what I say, right? I wouldn't come to it with embodiment. You wouldn't feel my energy. And so instead of saying, oh, let me manifest, something great for someone, I have so many parents that will come to me with that. They're like, can you help my son or my daughter? They're an addict. Because although I teach manifestation, I do a ton of other work that's just embedded in my work because it's all interconnected in my mind. Sorry, I'm trying not to lose my place. But they're like, can you help them? And I'm like, are you willing to go on the program? Are you willing to, whatever it is? Because that's the greatest chance of, quote unquote, saving them, even though they're a soul on their own journey. It's not you, understandably wanting to save your child. This is actually about you. And then they're like, oh, yeah, let's do it, and then magical things happen for their kids, or they've reached a state where they see it all so differently, and it's so beautiful. Okay, I'm having trouble starting. Can we say again how we find the ceiling in the basement? So take an area of life, I'll give you a second. Love, relationships, whatever you want to work on, let's just say. Like the one thing you're like, if I had this, it'd be great. And when in your life has it been really good? And you might need to, like, after this live, kind of go in and ponder for a little bit, because sometimes, what's the saying? The best ideas come in the shower. It's because you're doing something kind of mundane, so your subconscious can process. That's why sleep is so freaking important, right? So I would urge you to also, if you're like, okay, hold on, Randy's talking too much right now, you might need to get into a quiet space after. But at what point in your life was something really good, and then all of a sudden, boom, it went sour? And you're just going to kind of dissect that and go, okay, so what actually happened? What role did I play? When did I start self-sabotaging it? Or when did I just start panicking about it? Because sometimes it's like a quick little turn, and then we place meaning on the turn, and we're like, it's going to shit. And then we pour our energy into the idea that it's going to shit, and then it doesn't get back on track. But really, it was just this little tiny deviation, and we were going right back where we needed to go. But because our thoughts then led to the perception that it wasn't going to be okay, then we manifested that reality, right? So anyways, when something was awesome, and then it quickly changed, that's how you're finding your ceiling. So what is the ceiling? When someone's a super healthy person, that's when I start to sabotage the relationship. When they start wanting to be intimate, let's say, or whatever. And then the basement may be when they are abusive, or when they cheat on me 3 times, or, it could be something super weird, but you're just looking for, what is the time that I will finally change it? Like, what would have to happen in my life in this particular area I'm working on that would cause for me to want to quit the job, or change, or move away, or end the relationship, basically. Let me know if that makes sense. Okay, let's see. It's jumping around so much for me, so I'm trying here. Could illness also be the universe's way of forcing us to take a break? Yes, and I would, just my thoughts, I would change that to, it's you forcing you to take a break. You're just not willing to consciously do it, and so you unconsciously create an experience where you can take the break. What if it's not psychosomatic, not sick, but chronic pain, disc issues? Completely different scenario, of course, and that's where you'd want to see specialists. Go, the doctors and scientists I worked with also did the non-psychosomatic, but I couldn't speak to that because I was only working with psychosomatic patients. Sorry. Okay. Okay, so this is a good one. Question: can you give me an example of when you met a persona, for when you felt unloved, for example, or something like that? How would you meet that? So I'll give you a different example just because this one's fresh in my mind. I was talking about it just a couple days ago. So a few years back, now again, I told you guys the 10-year-old self. I guess I got to tell you a little bit of the story. When I was 10, I went to court to try to live with another parent, and the judge said no. And I was in shock. I was like, after everything I said, the world clearly doesn't care about children. And I was just, it built a belief of the world is unjust. Okay, so now let's keep that there, right? When I was, I don't know what age I was. Anyways, my stepson, and I'm trying to be polite about this is obviously like kind of a personal thing, but my stepson eventually came to live with my husband and I. He's my baby born from my heart. This kid is amazing. But my stepson, before he came to live with us, I had this moment, and I was so triggered. Jumped into 10-year-old and probably a mess of personas, but jumped into that. I was so angry, and I was like yelling at my husband through gritted teeth. He was my boyfriend at the time, but fiance. I was yelling at him through gritted teeth, and I was like, "You're not hearing me," because I was like fighting about something that I was really worried about with our son. And it was looking back, it was an inappropriate response. It was totally 10x, but it's because I was triggered. So I wasn't fighting for my son in that moment in totality. I was fighting for myself. I was fighting for the girl that didn't get fought for properly, or whatever thing it was kind of happening there. So my deepest need was to feel heard, to feel truly heard. So when I realized, wow, that's actually a need that shows up a lot. Like, I don't feel like people are hearing me, like they're not fully resonating with me. And that would sometimes just be in like a random conversation, or it could be in a really triggered situation like this one. But it was abundantly clear in that moment that this was not me. It was a part of me that was unhealed, and that needed to be met in a healthier way. And so how I met that need of being heard was I would journal out everything that I was feeling every morning, which I typically did anyway, but I had a little bit more of a twist to it so that it was allowing for me to feel like I was kind of writing to someone else, if that makes sense, like to my higher power, and kind of giving it over. And then I would talk to my husband about all my feelings before I got my boyfriend, my fiance. I would talk to him as well on all of my emotions, because he's such a great growth partner. It was perfect. If he wasn't, then it would be a different story. I'd probably he's dancing on the side, but I would sit there and be like, here are all the things I'm feeling. But I would say it when I was still calm. So before, the pressure cooker was at the top, I would be proactive and simmer all that down and be like, wow, I feel so heard right now, and my thoughts are clear. So I'm actually expressing true emotions versus all these unmet needs that are coming out messily. Did that hit? Does that feel good? Okay. Da-da-da. All right, I'm trying to go through. Yep, I left a teaching job abruptly instead of giving notice and being honest with myself. It was a messy basement. Should have followed my intuition and left on better terms, because that should have been my ceiling. Is that right? Absolutely. Because I bet that even though you had to leave and you knew you had to, you're probably like, I didn't like the exit. That didn't feel light and right? You're like, it was messy, it was heavy, there's lots of drama, but you're like, man, if I had done it sooner or in this way, okay, that's my new basement moving forward. If I, work with another school or do my own thing, that's going to be my new, parameter. So I'm going to keep that in the back of my mind, because I don't want things to get so messy, and they didn't have to. But you learned beautiful things. It was a lesson, total gratitude. We just don't need to invite it in again and learn the lesson multiple times. Thank you. You're so welcome, everyone. How about when it triggers a physical but chronic illness? You mean if it's psychosomatic? Because obviously our minds can release neurohormones like cortisol and other stress hormones, and then that causes inflammation. So chronic illness is normally fed through inflammation. So again, thoughts, right? And this could be unrelated stresses. How do I tell my mind to stop talking? It's not so much stop talking, but just realize the parts you're willing to listen to, right? And so when I first started realizing that most of the things that I was telling myself were just not very nice, or they weren't serving me, I would put them in a bubble and I'd literally send them up and let them pop somewhere in the ethers with love. So it's just realizing, you know what? I can have an infinite number of thoughts, so I don't really need to grasp onto this one. This one isn't me, or this one doesn't work for me, or I'm going to dissect this one. I'm curious about this. This one keeps showing up. So it obviously wants to get my attention, and it's probably here to serve me. So let me dig into it. Otherwise, the more intrusive thoughts that are random, send it in a bubble. Okay. I'm sorry if I'm missing some of your guys' questions. If someone cheated on you in your past and you have that insecurity with you in your present relationship, how to skip that scar faster when the triggers come? An obvious piece is not dating the same type of person, right? But I know that trigger muted itself very quickly for me because I was in such a healthy relationship. So I got a little lucky because my husband, he's just amazing, and I trust him with every part of myself. And to even be able to say that and mean it, there's never been anyone in my life that I had felt that way with, not even close. But I realized that in the past, in those unhealthy relationships, it was a persona of mine dancing, an unhealed persona of mine dancing with an unhealed persona in the other person, which made me see that there was really no love involved at all. And so I would invite you, if you're like, I'm in a relationship now, I don't want these triggers to come up. Of course, ensure that you are not a persona dating a persona. If so, you got to take a hard look. But if you're like, no, this is the authentic me showing up, then be vulnerable, open up, consistently talk about it. Partnerships are not about perfection. It is about consistent growth, progress, and partnership, which means that you guys got to have what's the Kevin Hart? Your bullshit is my bullshit, and my bullshit is your bullshit, or whatever, right? It's true. But it can't be unequal or imbalanced, and it can't be a persona's BS showing up with your persona's BS and you somehow like it and dance with it versus We are realizing this trigger, we are working through it together, and we are healing it, and here's how. Healing it is not saying you need to be on time at 8 p.m., you better bring me flowers every day. It is you taking full responsibility for how you feel or how you are experiencing this, and then asking for a growth partner to call you out when it occurs. So I would say, if it's, if the triggers are inappropriate in the sense of they don't need to be happening, and you've got a great partner with you, then talk to them about it and say, here are the triggers. I'm not coming in baggage free. That's not possible. To me, I think that's pretty much damn near impossible, especially when you're on your growth journey in the beginning. So instead, it's like, okay, this is my stuff. I'm taking full responsibility for it. But here are the times in which I see myself reacting inappropriately or telling myself something that isn't true. Can you be a part of my pattern interrupt? Can you hug me in that moment so that I don't shut down? Can you remind me I'm in a persona? Can you talk to me about it? Whatever it is, and then that helps the relationship further, come together. I can't tell you how often I'm sitting there like, honey, come talk to me. And then there's not much in our relationship that we talk about anymore because we vibe so well. But now it's like, hey, I'm triggered about this thing. Can you help me work through it? A partner, a growth partner. And actually, this is something that my husband and I did. We didn't realize how amazing it was going to be. But when we first met, you know how like sometimes you set like an intention for the relationship, like we'll never leave each other, or love is the foundation of us all. For us, it was growth. We will push each other to the greatest version of us all the time. And because that's at the foundation of our relationship, we are allowed to go into those crazy spaces and grow together. And that's all I want. I don't want any of my relationships from the past. My husband doesn't want any of his relationships from the past. We want someone that's going to make us the greatest version of us, support us, rock with us, let us be so authentic. And, sometimes be messy too. But it's beautiful. It's a beautiful mess. Okay, next piece. I'm liking these questions. Will there be a recording of each session? Absolutely. I will make sure that this is recorded. Appreciate you and the beautiful energy of the group. Very happy to be here and grateful. I love you all so much. Okay. Scrolling. You guys are so kind. Manifestation is so misunderstood. We need to insert the effect of our energy field. Say it. Say it. That's right. And this was something I was actually thinking about. So I'm going to go ahead and set this manifestation about manifestations into the ethers right now even further with you all, and I hope that you will lend your energy to it. Manifestation is not woo-woo. And it is something that the whole world has forgotten that they can do in the highest good of all. And the more that we all honor this, magic is on the way. And I really think that the word manifestation, it's going to be one heck of a hot word, but people are going to understand what it really means. And it includes science and psychology and the magical, crazy, miraculous manifestations that everybody thinks kind of gets bottled up in manifestation. It's more expansive than that. But it's going to become a household word to even the most, non-woo-woo-y people possible when they understand what it really is. Deal? You guys gonna be a part of that with me? I just went through an intense meeting with my son. Okay, we talked about that. How do we give the persona what it needs? Example, not being heard. Do I give it to myself? Yes, and if you have, I hope. And if you don't, then this probably becomes the first intention. Have people in your life. Hello, beautiful group. This is why I love doing these challenges and putting thousands of like-minded people together. You're going to find some of your tribe in here if you are willing to be vulnerable and open, right? Reach out to each other, hold each other. Open your arms if you want to be held, right? But having people who can help you lift up or can help you fill your cup. Like, there are times where I'm like, okay, I'm triggered, I take responsibility for it, but I want someone else involved in this healing process. I'm not completely like a solo, blurp on the existence wheel here. There's other beings with me, and so I'll pull my husband in, or I'll pull one of my friends in, or I'll pull my mom in, or whatever it is, and because I just feel like they're supposed to be a part of it. So go with your intuition on it. Great info. Thank you. Okay, sorry. I know I'm missing some of your guys' questions. I'm just trying to scroll through a couple. Intuition is about gut feeling from heart. Is that right? And it comes from mind. And if it comes from the mind, is that overthinking? Am I right? So I'll be careful with this. I would trust my heart most, especially in the beginning of my journey, and the gut feeling. That is like the first, like, boom, that feeling, that ping, run with it, go with it, build upon it. That is like the split second before your mind jumps in and goes, no, don't, it won't work, this is why it won't, blah, 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 blah. But you do still need to deal with the mind. And eventually the mind gets on board, and having these two connected, magic. But when this is all, subconscious really, and it's what's in the subconscious is not serving you, we want to get all that subconscious clutter cleared out so that we're in unison, so that all of our energy, boom, it goes right where we want to go. So yes, depending on what part of the journey you're on. Okay, I'm going to answer like maybe 2 more questions. How much does what we eat and drink affect our energy and vibration? This is such a good question because I answer this differently sometimes. Massively, absolutely. And also, depending on your vibration, you can bless the food in such a way, or depending on where you're at in life, it may or may not affect you. So for example, if you want to drink alcohol, I've seen people where it actually opens them up, and it for a short while raises their vibration. How much they drink, the intention behind it, all of that plays into it. So it's a lot of work that goes into it, so probably better to just not. But have you ever heard the saying, just going with the alcohol thing, a dry drunk? It's someone who stopped the drinking but still has the mental problems that caused them to drink in the first place, or in excess, right? So it doesn't help. So I would say that, if we can understand that we can move matter, we can create all things, then does it affect us? Maybe not. But how high of a vibration do you need to be in to where those things won't affect you? And then what's your intention behind it? If you're eating a cheeseburger to numb out versus this is so delicious, what a treat, I'm doing it once in a while, those are very different intentional energies. So sometimes the action doesn't change, but your intentional energy may need to. We're going to talk about that tomorrow, so make sure that you jump in. I had an abandonment issue triggered that was not resolved as a child and brought my vibration down for days. Is that okay? How do I balance honoring my feelings and being in high vibration? I want to remind you guys, regardless of your dips, just put yourself kind of in a bubble and remember that regardless of those dips, those moments, you're not going to totally go to shit. You're not going to sabotage everything. I had to tell myself that many times because I used to be like, if I'm not in a high vibration at every moment, I'm totally screwed. That's when I wasn't even manifesting things, right? So obviously that was a skewed belief. When I started to understand that, again, my low vibration was offering a moment of healing. Now, if you want to lay in bed for 5 days straight with the covers over your head and you get out of bed and you feel the same, but you just had to go to work, so you finally pushed yourself through it, that's not going to work, right? But if you rest for a moment, because that's self-love, and then you're like, okay, when I am ready, when I'm in a higher state, I'm revisiting this. I'm going to figure out why I feel that way. And I'm going to heal this, right on track. Biggest thing is just don't run. Don't run from anything. It will follow you and you will carry it. Will the Q&A part be on the replay? Yes, absolutely. Don't worry about it. The whole thing will be. Okay, so this is going to be a good question. I don't know if you're going to like my answer, though. How to protect our energy to better manifest in life. There was a time in my life, and sometimes it still comes up, where I feel like I need to protect my energy. Or I used to always think, because I'm an empath, because I can practically hear people's thoughts, I need to protect myself. My answer to that now is, if I'm in a high vibration, I don't need to protect myself from anything. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm not meant to be singular. I'm connected to everyone for a reason. So instead of me shying away from what I'm being called to do, which is be in a high vibration or help transmute or serve this person in some way, then I'm going to opt for being in such a high vibration that their negative energy or their toxicity or whatever can't touch me, because I've mastered myself so much. There was this saying I heard, I can't remember who said it, and then I obviously turned it into my own thing, but what I got from it was, and this is something that I choose to believe or I choose to live by as much as I possibly can now, is I will learn to, and I choose to, trust myself so much that I could be around anybody. It's not, do I trust them? Do I need to protect myself from them? It is, I am such a force to be reckoned with that I could be around anybody. That I trust myself so much that it doesn't matter who's in front of me or who's around me or, whatever it is. I still choose, again, I want to be careful how I say it. I still choose, what I put into my energetic field very consciously, but I'm not afraid of it. And so protection is just not something that has resonated for me for a long time. But if you want to learn energetic protection, check out my husband. Some of his programs, he does talk about protection, and then he shows you how to step out of the need for protection. But that's more on an energy, space. Oh, you guys are so sweet. Okay, so this one, can you explain about intuition? Sometimes I feel good, I feel right, but the mind basically kicks in later. Take as much action. My husband and I have done this for years, and it has blessed us so unbelievably. When you get that intuitive ping, when you're in that high vibration and you feel like anything is possible, you take as much action as you can. I remember, y'all, we wanted to move from Dallas to Laguna. There was a lot of reasons that we could not do that. One of the biggest ones being, child custody arrangements and so forth. And I sat there, we were in Laguna. We had had a really triggering night. The people above us were partying hard. We didn't sleep. We were like, we love Laguna. We always come here to clear our energy. And it's not doing that. These people are doing drugs up there and everything. And I was like, gosh, are we not supposed to be here? What the heck? And I was frustrated. I was super triggered. And then the lessons came and it was becoming more and more beautiful and magical and all this stuff. Anyways, that's another story for another day. But the piece that came from it was when we understood our triggers, we ended up in this really beautiful space, super high vibration. And we got the message that we needed to, and we could, if we took action quickly, we could move to Laguna Beach. So we did within 2 hours, I think, time frame. We made it to where it was impossible not to move. Now, there was so many logical pieces that our mind was like, oh my God, but what if we can't do this? What if we can't take this person with us? What if this doesn't happen this way? None of that existed in the high vibration, and we just quieted it and made the decision anyways, because anything that happens in a high vibration, anything that's an intuitive pull, although it may come with some craziness, if you can get your mind to calm down, if you can go through all these steps we went through today, understand your trigger, process that subconscious reel, believe that something different can happen, and choose and understand that new rule, that new belief, that new thought pattern that you need, and accepting that, magic happens. And so even when we got back to Dallas to pack up and we were like, woo, we were super nervous. I can hear my son. And we were super nervous and we were like, will this really happen? We had made enough decisions that we couldn't turn back anyways. So all my kids. So the beautiful energy that came from it. So, so beautiful. Okay, one more question and then I'm going to spend some time with my kids here. Let's see. I'm almost done, Joyce. Don't worry.
Are you done?
Almost. I'm still live, but the kiddos can come up.
Okay, you guys can come up.
Okay, let's see. You might as well see my cuties. My cute little babies. I'm seeing if there's one more question that's like, ooh, gotta answer this. Okay, we'll scroll down. Dang, y'all asked a lot of questions. I'm sorry. Hi, baby.
Hi, Mama.
Hi, baby.
You have 2 babies now.
You want to come in and say hi to the world real quick? We're going to answer one more question. Okay, so I just see lots of thank yous. We'll just answer this question. What time tomorrow? 11 Mountain Standard Time. Same time as today. I jumped on a little bit early so that you guys can find me, but 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time tomorrow. And we will so cute. We will go into emotions tomorrow. Okay, that's it. And in case no one has told you today, say I love you.
I love you.
Love you. Bye. Bye, everybody. Love you.